raising money is not an end in itself. It is actually the result of a series of other things. And I'll talk to you about some of those. And it is important for you to understand that investors will come in only if the prerequisites are met. There are many ways to raise money. You can take a loan from a bank or borrow from a friend or family. You can raise some angel money. You can get access to a government grant. You can have your customers fund you, which is probably the best way of raising money. And then you've got professional investors. You know, it's the so-called angel investors and VC investors who will invest in your company in return for a stake. The big difference between, say, a bank loan and any other loan and raising money from investors is that a bank loan requires you to pay back the amount you have borrowed along with some interest, and you also have to provide some security, some collateral against which the lending is provided. In the case of investors, they actually buy into your company, they buy stake in your company, and the basis for doing that is that they buy into your vision for your company. They buy into you as a person, your team, and what is it that you want to create. So effectively, they are buying into the future value of the company that will get created by you and the team and your technology and your business model. And the money is only to enable all of this to occur. Okay. So from an investor standpoint, therefore, there are 4 to 5 things that every investor looks at. First and foremost, and I'm sure you've heard all of this before, but nevertheless, allow me to run you through them, is the people. Okay, I mean, who are the people who are doing this business, right? What is their motivation? What is the team spirit behind it? Will they all work together? Do they have a shared sense of what to create? Is the chemistry right between all of them? There's an old saying, right? If the chemistry is not right, the arithmetic never works. So it's very important to understand that. When there is intense pressure, when the chips are down, will this team still hang in together? Will they still work together to help the company achieve its goals? Are they able to attract top quality talent? How do they take decisions? Right? These are all the questions that an investor typically seeks to have answers to by looking at the team. So you'll find a lot of time is spent by talking to the people. They will do the due diligence. They will speak to your former employers. They will speak to your former colleagues. They will look at your background, etc., to determine if you're the kind of person that the investor believes will be able to create a valuable franchise. So that's the first issue, namely the people. The second is, what is the problem or the opportunity you're trying to solve, right? I mean, is it a big enough opportunity? Is it a growing opportunity? Is it a big enough problem? Are enough people facing that problem? Is the second issue. And typically, the size of the market, which is the opportunity space that you're going after, is a very important consideration. Now, you can ask, why is that so important? It is important because if you think about it, you cannot have more than 6 companies, each with a 15% market share, right? It's mathematically not possible. The second thing to keep in mind is that in a steady state, that is when a market reaches maturity, you will find that the top 5 odd companies tend to have a disproportionate share of the market. They will typically hold anywhere from 50 to 60% of the market, and the remaining hundreds of other companies will hold the balance 30-40% of the market. And therefore, if the market is big enough, even if I am number 10 or number 20 in that list, I should still be able to create a large enough market, create a large enough company so that it becomes valuable. Okay, and that is the reason why the market size is important. The second element is how fast is the problem or opportunity being created. Okay, if the market is moving very slowly, it is not a good place for a startup to be in. It is always a good space to be in if the market is changing and growing rapidly. Okay, so therefore you find uh, opportunities in new areas where the rate of growth is very, very high. And technology fuels the rate of growth even more, and it drives scale. So the rate of growth is also a very important thing because it creates discontinuities that an existing business finds very hard to deal with. And that change can happen either because of technology, it can happen because of government regulation and laws, it can happen because of a new piece of branding or new entrant into the market. It could be because there's a changing consumer base, changing demographics, right? There could be any number of reasons. And it's the smart companies that figure out what is happening and take advantage of the change and the rate of change to be able to create a valuable enterprise, right? So that's the second thing, which is the how big is the opportunity, how fast is it growing, how big is the problem, how much of a problem is it, how fast is it growing. That's the second thing that investors will study. The third is your own offering. So there is a problem, there's an opportunity. How will you, what is your solution to that problem? How are others solving it? And why is your solution better, faster, cheaper than all that is out there? Right? It could be a technology advantage, it could be a strategic business association advantage, it could be a channel advantage, it could be a brand advantage, it could be some regulatory advantage, whatever. So you have to understand what are the advantages that you have that will make you give you the edge, the so-called unfair competitive advantage over others in the marketplace. And what is it in your model that makes it sustainable? And therefore, how quickly you continuously keep innovating, how you are able to deal with competitive pressures. Because if you say low price is my advantage, everybody else is priced at 100, I will offer mine at 20, right? Now, that by itself is not sustainable because everybody else can also drop their prices. Now, low price is not an advantage, low cost is an advantage, right? So therefore, how do you create your business that is so low in cost that others find it impossible to match your cost structure? Like that, and there are many other ways in which you can create your differentiation. It could be through technology and the branding and market access and partnerships, etc., etc. So that's the third thing that you need to look at. And related to this is the issue of your own business model. That is, how will you deliver what you say you're going to deliver? What is the model you have? And how will you therefore be able to deal with the market and the participants? The fourth issue is the financial part, which is how will you be making money? And for every rupee that your customer pays, how much do you end up actually making? And what is your cash flow like? How much money would you need? How much funding is necessary to be able for you to reach certain milestones? And therefore, the financial viability of this business, that is over time, over in a 5-year period, let's say, how big a business can you build? And therefore, if the market is big enough, the growth rate is big enough, it is possible for you to create a big business. How much capital would you need? Is your model such that you're able to generate adequate cash? Is your model such that your competitive advantage by way of financial stability will remain? Is it a high fixed cost business? Is it a high variable cost business? What does your cash flow look like? Right? So the financials part of this is the fourth piece of the puzzle that needs to be understood. And finally is the issue about the risk, which is the operating risk. That is the so-called execution risk. If when you're executing, you let's say you have the money, you have the team, you've got a great offering, there's big problem in the market, you've got the right business model and so on. Now, what is the execution risk? What can go wrong? Is the other thing that you have to think about. Things can go wrong in many ways. For example, all of a sudden you can find that there is a big competitor, very well funded global multinational who enters the field. Or it could be somebody like, say, like a Reliance Jio who suddenly launches, right? Then what do you do? What are the considerations that you have thought about to be able to handle such things? And for example, what will happen to this company if one of the management team members decides to leave? Okay, what happens if there is a problem with the execution, right? So those are some of the considerations that investors think about when they decide to back a company, right? And therefore it takes time, it takes lots of meetings, a lot of reading, a lot of meeting of people, etc., etc., to be able to understand this. Now, from the other thing you have to keep in mind is that therefore investors are looking for opportunities to make money. So investor will only make money if your company makes money. And remember another thing, what is good for you need not be good for the company. That is, what is good for you as the entrepreneur need not necessarily be good for the company. But what is good for the company is always good for you as the shareholder. Okay, so keep that issue in mind. And investors only win when the company wins, right? If the company sinks and doesn't make any money, the investor has lost their entire investment because there is no collateral. They only make money when the company becomes more valuable than when they bought into it. The price of their shares has gone up, and that is the only way they make money. Okay, and therefore the interest of the entrepreneur, the team, and the investor are aligned. That is, both are working to create a valuable company, and that is the important thing to note. And therefore, for the investor to be able to do all of this, they have to think, because they are looking for generating hits, right? I mean, it's like uh, the slog overs of a T20, right? They have to generate hits. Why is that? Because for every 10 investments, let's assume that they invest in 10 companies, because it's a high risk business, there is no collateral, and these are all early stage bets that the entrepreneur and the investor take, and the investor is putting in real cash. Typically what will happen is 5 out of 10 companies will sink. Okay, in other words, all the money in those invested in those 5 companies will disappear. Now you're left with remaining 5. Of the remaining 5, you will find that typically about 3 of them will kind of be average returns and return, and will give back the invested money to the investors. Okay, so so therefore now imagine that if I've invested in 10 companies, and let's say I've put in 1 rupee in each of 10 companies, right? So that is 10 rupees is my total investment amount. Now 5 companies have sunk, that means I've lost 5 rupees. Then of the remaining 5, 3 will only return 1 rupee each, because that is the amount invested. So I get back 3. So now what has happened? My total investment in those 8 companies is 5 plus 3, that is 8 rupees has been invested. How much have I got back? I've got back only 3. I'm left with 2 companies, each of which has got 1 rupee, that is for a total of 2 rupees. Now for me to generate a return, and typically for venture capital, because it is high risk, there is also a high return, which is why people invest in the venture capital business, right? Otherwise, I will invest in the stock market, I'll buy gold, I'll buy real estate. So the purpose of doing this is that I must get a high return. Now, the high return will mean what? It means that my stock market returns plus minimum 7 to 10 points more than that. So let us say about 20 to 25%, okay, is my expected return. So my remaining 2 companies, each of which has got a rupee, now will have to deliver supernormal returns, such that on the overall 10 rupees that I have invested, I will make 30 rupees, right? So I have only got back 3. So that means 2 companies now will have to deliver 27 rupees from the 2 rupees that is invested. So approximately 14 times investment, each of those 2 companies now need to deliver. Okay, and therefore the bad news is I don't know which of my 10 companies is going to deliver that 14x return, and therefore each of the companies that I invest in must have the potential to deliver 14 times my invested amount. Okay, I hope that is clear. So that is how investors think about this whole business of investing, because it is a high risk business, and therefore coupled with that is the element of high returns. Now, for an investor who's thinking about you and for you to think about the investor, there are a few other things that you need to keep in mind. One of the most important things is how do you approach an investor, right? Typically, what will happen is if you send in a cold email, the chances are that they will not get responded to. And therefore, you need to have what is called a warm approach. A warm approach means, finding a contact who happens to know the investor. And this typically will happen if you go out of your shell and you start networking. You attend events like the mentoring clinics and the incubation and the events at various other entrepreneur forums, both online and offline, whether they're organized by different industry groups, whether by associations like TIE and various other organizations. You must go there and meet investors, and you should participate, you should follow them, you should comment, etc., on social media, and talk to companies that have raised money from these investors. And you should study the investors, go to their websites, look at their portfolio companies, what are their areas of interest, what is their investment criteria, what kinds of companies have they invested in, and therefore have they invested in any company that is a competitor to yours, and so on, and try and find people through LinkedIn or through your alumni networks or through your former colleagues if you have been working, and so on, to find connections into those companies, to find out which of the investors is good, which and who in that VC fund is the right person for you to be talking to, and therefore build those networks and relationships, and then get an introduction done to the appropriate person. Ideally, if you can reach out to the partner. On the other hand, there are principals and other investment professionals that you can reach out to, talk to them, build a relationship, understand them, and then make the case. And typically, this is an ongoing, continuous exercise. And what that means is that you should be looking at talking, building relationships with people, not when you are desperate and need the money, but when when you don't need the money. Okay, that is, you started go out, meet, and get feedback, right? Go talk to investors, get their feedback, and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. What do you think? Is this a good space? What are the challenges? And so on. So by continuously engaging with the investors, engaging with the market, by talking to customers, talking to channel partners, talking to other industry experts and participants, you keep developing a very, very good sense of what the market is like, what is it that people are looking for, what are the challenges, and what are the relationships that you can network. And that's an important consideration, because you can't go in, as a naive, innocent person, not knowing anything, as you go to front of the VC, because the VC is going to say, look, I'm going to be wasting my time if you haven't even done your basic homework. Okay, so that's the other thought I thought I should share with you. And finally, before I open it up for your questions, do keep in mind the fact that investors don't have too much time. They get hundreds of emails and proposals from all kinds of people, etc. So learn to make a very crisp, precise, focused presentation. One of the big challenges in our country is that our ability to be precise and focused and to communicate something very, very crisply is rather poor. We tend to write long essays. We tend to have long, boring, slide decks that really, put everybody to sleep. And therefore, how do you present? And how do you make your point, right? This itself is an art. This itself requires a lot of practice. This itself requires you to make sure that, let's say in about 10 slides, can you tell your story? And it should be interesting. It must grab the attention of the listener, which means use a lot of visuals, make clear points about why you're different, and don't waste too much time talking about the market and all the rest of it, right? They all know that far better than you. And talk about basic. How will you get your first customer? What is the learning? How will you get your 100th customer, right? Focus on simple stuff, let's say from a goal standpoint, but difficult stuff from a standpoint of execution, right? And that is what they're interested in knowing, how you will do what you claim to do. Okay, so the focus should be on action orientation, and practice your presentation, practice the way you will pitch. And very, very important, I cannot emphasize this enough. All too often we find that when people come and present, they either keep reading from a script, or they keep reading from what is there on the slide, or it is so boring that nobody is able to pay any attention, right? You should be able to convey the excitement, the enthusiasm, and your passion for the business through your words, and therefore keep that aspect in mind. Okay, and therefore practice, get feedback, and make it very crisp. And if two people, let's say you and your co-founder, are making a presentation, it must be seamless between the two of you, right? Where each person must not be contradicting the other, must not be saying wildly different things. Practice questions, answers to expected questions. All of it must come through as if you have thought about your business deeply and strongly. And it's a very important piece, right? Typically, we find that it's one of the biggest areas of weaknesses of Indian companies is the inability to articulate your vision. Why are you doing this? How big is the problem? Who is the customer? Why is the customer going to pay you money? How will you make money once the customer gives you money? Why are you different? What is your strength? Why will you continue to win? These are all questions that you need to have thought through deeply and figured out how to respond to them. Okay, and therefore, not if you don't know, it's okay to say I don't know. I'll come back to you, and then follow up with your answer, and that's an important thing. And therefore, don't try and say something that is inaccurate, or say something that is kind of wishy-washy, right? Because that is pretty much going to be the end of your conversation. And yeah, so I think I will pause now and wait for you guys to digest what I've said. If there's anything else you want me to talk about, let me know, and I'm happy to respond to your questions.
Sure, sir. We have one question from Arun of Skyraptor. I know you answered it by saying that you should talk to investors when you don't have the money. But like how long does it take for investors to build that trust in an entrepreneur in terms of the time process, sir? How early? Because we've a lot of times we've seen entrepreneurs come to us and say, hey, I want funding, but I want it like now. And then we tell them that, it takes 6 to 12 months or to kind of get that kind of checks. But like, what should be the time process, that they need to go beforehand, and in terms of months that you would say, to build relationships?
Yeah. See, building a relationship, as you know, in all cases is a continuous process, right? It's not like I want to build a relationship and send an email, he will respond, we'll go have dinner, and next morning he writes me a check, right? It doesn't work like that. So they have to build a sense of comfort, and the other person must believe that you are saying things out of conviction and not because it's the flavor of the day, right? Just because e-commerce is hot, or just because mobile vernacular is hot, or SaaS is hot, or whatever, you don't start talking about it. Start talking about things from the standpoint of the customer problem you are solving and why you're different, right? And who you are, and why are you doing what you're doing, right? Your story must be exciting. And saying, hey, you know what, this is what I'm doing. I used to work here, I experienced this problem, and therefore, I think it's something that, will appeal to a lot of people because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reasons. I'll give an example. You talked about Redbus. The Redbus solution came about because the founders of Redbus were here in Bangalore, and they wanted to go home for Diwali, and they could not buy bus tickets. They had to go to multiple bus operators, and those days there was not much web services available, and therefore that was an issue. So they had to be able to figure out, is there a simpler way, an easier way to be able to handle the buying of bus tickets. And this happened out of a personal experience, that they were able to understand the problem, and said that, if we are facing this problem, there must be lots of other people who have the same problem, and therefore let's examine this in more detail. Now that's a story that you tell people, right? And that catches the attention of others. And if you say that, I read this in some report, or the newspaper said that there is an opportunity, that is not exciting. So you must know the problem firsthand, or you must know the problem close enough. I'll give you another example. Sanjeev Bikhchandani of Naukri, when he started Naukri, the interesting insight he had was that while he was working, and before he had actually started Naukri, his job, he used to work for a media company, and he noticed that everybody used to read magazines those days from the last page. So when a magazine or a newspaper came, people would open it to the last page and then start browsing the magazine. Why? Because the last page contained all the job advertisements. And he saw that that was the thing that people were generally looking out for in those days as the first thing in any magazine or newspaper, right? So that was the insight. And that is how he started. So what he did was he cut out all those pieces, put it all together in one single place, and then was wanting to create a web page, which basically contained, cutouts of all the newspaper and magazine job ads. Okay, and so that is the insight that you have to be able to demonstrate. Why do you think this is a problem? Right? As the old saying goes, you don't learn swimming reading books. You have to be in the water. You have to demonstrate that you know what it is like to have that problem.
Just building on that, sir. I was looking through one of your podcasts yesterday, and in that podcast, you said that Fanindra Sama was actually a chip designer, but he was also one of the most. He is one of the person who has the most insights on the bus industry actually, and he had great respect for that. What are the things that I know in this audience we have a lot of entrepreneurs, who have different skills, but the ability to acquire that knowledge or learn something new, right? Can you take us through some of Fani's journey into how he does that actually? What are some of the activities that he does to keep building that kind of a knowledge?
Yeah. See, I give you one example, right, about
Picture time.
personal experience of wanting to go home for Diwali and having the big challenge of trying to book a bus ticket, right? He had to physically go to all the operators, go to the offline agents that of different bus operators to actually buy tickets, right? So that was something you personally experienced. The other thing that he used to do regularly is travel and meet all the bus operators. Okay, sit with them, understand what is their problem, what is their motivation, why is it that they're not doing some things, why is it that they're doing some things, right? So that was the other big thing, big learning, because very few people would travel by bus to understand what the bus journey experience itself was like. Okay, and a lot of people would comment on the business without ever having traveled by bus. Okay, and therefore you don't know what is the motivation of the bus operator, you don't know why he's running this, how many buses does he have, how much money does a bus operator make, at what level of fulfillment or utilization of the bus seats does the bus operator actually start making profit, what is his overall cost structure, how many routes does he travel, which is the most profitable route, etc., etc. Now all of this you will not get by sitting in your room and imagining, right? You have to go out there and start talking to people, and that is how you understand various things. The third thing that happens is once you're in business, you realize that a lot of the answers to things lie in your own data. And since he was in the consumer business, that is selling bus tickets directly to consumers, he had a lot of data on consumer behavior and figured out that, hey, you know what, we are selling a lot of tickets, but women are not buying tickets. Okay. Now the question is, why didn't women buy tickets? And then, by talking to operators and to women, etc., you figure out that women were not buying tickets for the simple reason that when they bought a bus ticket and to a single woman traveling home, she was concerned about who would be sitting next to her in that bus seat at night on an interstate bus journey, and therefore she would not buy. You understood? So now what they did was they created a system where if a woman bought a ticket, the seat next to her would be sold only to another woman. Okay, so there are many things like that you have that will come only through a process of deep engagement with the data, with the market participants, by talking to them. You go and talk to bus agents, the ticket agents who sell bus tickets. Ask those guys, hey, what is your problem? Right? What is causing the biggest problem, hassle for you? What would make your life better? What if you had a solution like this? Do you think it will work? You understand? So all of those kinds of constant engagement is what helps with regard to understanding what is your value proposition. It took Redbus close to 14 months to raise their next round of funding after their seed round. Okay, because most people didn't understand the bus industry, they didn't understand what it meant, and therefore it took a long while to convince people to be able to invest in it.
We have a question from Fidal from JSP Enviro. It is a common question you heard from many entrepreneurs is what kind of, how do you understand valuation and how does that work with investors?
Well, valuation, the old joke is, it is not a solid, it is not a liquid, it is sort of almost gaseous. Okay. And so valuation is in the eye of the beholder, and it is money in the mirror, meaning it looks nice, but you can't grab it. So what that actually means is, if you
Sir, I think we've lost video. Guys, Sanjay told us that he's having, there was a lot of wind there, and there might be some power outages. So please stay online. I'll just get in touch with him.
Sure, Varga.
Please go ahead and put your questions. I have 3, 4, so I will go ahead and ask him when he comes back. And in case of some questions, volunteers asked will itself get back onto you on that. I'm just retaining some of the more serious questions for him because that's what he has asked us to do that for. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure, sir. So we will cut short the session, sir, and I will, how do you want to? Hi, everybody. I just got back. Sanjay will be joining us in a few more minutes shortly. Meanwhile, I will just go through some of the other questions that you've asked. Just hold on. So we have a question from Arvind Raj on, is it the right time? When is the right time to start approaching investors? You have to understand that, meeting investors is also a power game. Okay. You don't want to go to an investor when you're kind of desperate. You want to be able to reach out to them, like he said, before you need the money. So that's when you are not desperate. And and you also get the opportunity to build a relationship. So even if you are in the idea relationship, right, you need to start building those contacts. Even if you're an idea, go to some investor meets, go, attend a lot of events with Head Start and, Tai Chene and so on, and go and meet those investors, talk to your ideas, talk about your ideas to them, get some good feedback. So I can give an example is, I'm sure a lot of you use, Canva to put your designs and all. It was the Canva is actually an Australian company, but they raised funding from a US company. And they just randomly met into one of the best angel investors in Australia. And he kind of said, they talked about their idea and stuff. and he invited them to the US and asked them to pitch. They had a very bad pitch, but it was not the pitch that the investor was like. He saw certain very good other signs in terms of the market, in terms of people who are doing right. So in some cases, the investors will notice you if you are really in a very good market, and they were. And so it's very important to be even in the idea stage to start talking to investors and keep updating them. Okay, in terms of the question to, I think Adit has asked for medicine, which it's also how much importance do investors give to market traction prior to product completion? Okay, this is usually investors will want to see, they just want to see a set of similar customers that you would be pitching to. Like if they want to see early customer traction. And if the investor sees that there is much larger set of such customers who can buy. So in the case of Redbus, right, you need to see if there are enough users who are buying tickets, and that is proof of traction of what you have. Before product completion is do feedback, just talk to them, ask them if willing. People do customer surveys, talk to them, get ideas on whether people are willing to pay for this service. So a great example of this is that in Chennai itself is Freshworks, who even before he kind of built the product, right? He just put he put up just a simple website, and he said that I am building this product. Would you like to purchase this? You would not believe the first 4 customers of Redbus were in 4 different continents actually. So the idea is you just need to find out if people are willing to pay for your idea itself. If this is what I want to offer, this is what I want to build. And then if people are willing to pay for that, that is also good traction. So Girish says that, the businesses are changed. The way you do business is that much more easier. He says, I can put 1 lakh rupees into an ad, right? Or even much lesser than that. You can put in Google Ads and test if people actually want it. If people are clicking on those ads and, are signing up for something, are signing up for a form of any service. So what you need is you want to look for those kind of signals, and investors love to see that you tested something like that and found, information on that. Justin, I will need a little bit more clarity on your question. Okay, I have one question from Manikandan. How do we find the right investor at the right stage? Because everyone needs money, but how much we need? Okay, so it depends on what stage you're in, because there are different grades of investor who come in at different times of your business journey. There are seed funds, there are incubators who come before that. There are, Series A investors, Series B investors. So it depends on what stage you are and the amount of money that you want to raise. We would be happy to help out. Manikandan, you can talk to me or Avinash. We'll help you in terms of identifying such funds. But we also have at Venture Interns, we also give you a free directory of all of these different stages of investors. So if you're an early stage, you can talk to seed funds and venture capital funds. If you have some good revenue, team is set, product is set, you're looking more for a Series A investor. And if you're like 5 million, 10 million kind of revenue, then looking for a Series B investor. It all depends on your ask as to how much funding you need. That is what will determine the investor that you want to raise. Okay, I have one question from Shivaranjani of Nakuras. So in terms of how do investors see social entrepreneurs, because they focus not only on profit motive, but also positive societal change. There is Shivaranjani, there's a separate group of impact investors actually who do investments into social, impact investments. So they have this double bottom line, double bottom line of both, profit motive as well as societal change. I will give you a list of companies as well. We will also refer you to some of the local entrepreneurs, because Chennai is a huge hub for, Chennai is a huge hub for impact investors. So, yeah, Sanjay has just joined us back. Hello, sir.
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, so you're a bit soft. I don't know if that's only for me or others as well.
Hello, hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, it's audible now.
Okay, great. So what's the next question?
So we were talking about valuation, sir, before you got cut. I think.
Yeah. So valuation was, like I said, you project your financials into the future, discount it based upon your hurdle rates, your cost of capital, and your return expectations, and you arrive at a number that is your current, let's say, assessment of your value based on a discounted cash flow method. The other thing would be to look at public market companies that are in the same industry or in an adjacent space. Look at their valuation multiples, price to sales, PE, and things like that. And then you look at other, let's say, an M&A that may have occurred in your industry or in an adjacent industry. You look at other funding that has occurred. Other VCs would have funded other companies. What has been their basis for funding? You look at all of that, and then you take a look at the risks that your own company has, the quality of the management team, how much money will it further require to grow, etc., etc. Then the ownership position of the VC in the company. So let's say if a VC holds 5% of a company and the company is worth, let's say, 100 crores, then the VC's investment is worth only 5 crores, right? But if the VC's return expectation is say 20 crores, then I need to hold a 20% stake in the company, or I need to have the company get to a 400 crore valuation. Okay. So there are different ways in which different investors will look at it. So, so typically that is the way the valuation would get set.
Sure, sir. We have a couple of questions regarding, very early stage companies. How do they demonstrate customer traction when they're very early? What kind of signals you would like to see in terms of customer traction when they're like just starting out, for 6 to 7 months? What are the kind of signs you look for, sir? Because they're not revenue generating, but these guys would want to raise maybe funding in the next 3 months. How do they kind of show that?
Yeah. So it's a very good question because, and you see, the important thing is this, right? Have you spoken to customers? For example, let's say you don't have any customers, meaning nobody has signed on. Do you have customers, or do you have people who are trying out the product, who are, let's say, who have signed on and said, okay, let me start using this? You could also have a situation where your product is not ready, okay, but you have sold the concept to people and saying, yeah, if this product were out and it behaves in the fashion that you have just described to me, I'm happy to sign on. Okay. So typically the way it will work is, if you don't have customers, your product is not ready, and you still want to raise money, it is not easy, but it is still very possible. It all depends upon what is the product, what is the market problem you're solving, how big is the product, and how passionate and committed and how convincing can you be to the investor. Do you actually believe in this? Why do you believe in this? Why do you think this is a great opportunity? Okay. So all of that become important. You could have trial customers, people who are not paying you anything, but people who have signed on to be beta customers. You could have a lot of registrations on your beta website, right? People saying, yes, I'm interested in this product. Once it is out, let me know. I'm happy to use it. So you could have a lot of channel partners that you can sign up and say, yeah, this looks interesting. I'm happy to distribute the product if and when it becomes available. And then you surround yourself with people who also buy into the vision. For example, do you have a good board or a board of advisors or somebody who's credible who will speak on your behalf as well? Okay, so you need to have a lot of advocates around you who will speak for you, for your company, for the proposition that you're essentially selling.
Yes. We have a question from Rahul from Nebeski Labs. He says that we often fail to estimate market sizes in early stages. What are some of the best processes for identifying the size of the total addressable markets and so on in the initial stages? How do you kind of showcase that this will likely grow or anything like that?
Yeah. See, it is not important to have an exact fix on the market size. Okay, so a lot of people will say, we'll quote from newspapers, we'll quote from market research reports and so on. All of that is meaningless because nobody believes any of those numbers. But you should have a sense that the order of magnitude is large. Okay, so if you say that, look, I'm building a product for the MSME market, micro, small and medium enterprises. India has got 70 million MSMEs. We all know that. Now, this is a solution that most of them will need. Okay, and therefore you can make a case. Or you can say that I'm targeting, let us say, senior citizens in India. Or you can say I'm targeting. So each of these, everyone knows is a large market, but nobody knows what the exact number is, and that is not relevant. What you need to know is that the market size is big, the rate of growth of that market is high, and therefore, and the solution that you have or the offering that you have, it actually meets a particular need. Okay, and that is the important thing. So don't worry too much about trying to get a fix on the exact market size. It is a large market, people understand it.
One question is like, how can entrepreneurs evaluate investors beyond the basics of how much they will invest, or the more qualitative? So how do you because we see instances of this, you see a lot more operators also coming in. So like, how do entrepreneurs kind of evaluate investors?
Yeah. So it's again a good question and much needed. So entrepreneurs need to evaluate investors. First of all, obviously, you do a search. You can go to LinkedIn. You can do an internet or a Google search to see what are the comments about these people. Maybe there are lots of sites where you can search for feedback on particular investors and particular investment firms. You should talk to companies where they have invested. You can talk to the people there using your contacts, using your network to reach out to the appropriate people, get feedback and say, hey, these guys have invested in your company. What's been the experience like? And so person from so-and-so VC fund sits on your board. How is that person to deal with? What are the pros and cons? How have they added value, etc., etc. So it's essentially a process where you again need to get immersed into the market. You talk to multiple people and try and get a sense of who are the good investors, who are the not so good investors, and so
on. We have one question from Fidel again. Is do you think startups should look at strategic investment seriously? Is there a case for that?
Yeah, I think getting a strategic investment early, very early, or as the first investor in the company is not a very good thing, because strategic investors don't really evaluate the financial impact or value created by the startup. Okay, they look at it from their own corporate needs and strategic imperatives. So it is good to keep strategic investors for later rounds of investing as opposed to being the first investor.
Sure. We have a question from Irfan from Highbrow. His question is long, but the idea is, what is the right amount to raise?
Yeah, the right amount to raise is, it should meet two criteria. Number one, it should get you to your next milestone, and it must leave you with minimum 3 months of cash in the bank. I'll give an example. So let's say you started off and you know that you need to raise, let's say, 5 crores because your basic product is ready. Now you have to build the next version of the product. You have to find customers. You have to hire salespeople. You have to launch a marketing campaign, etc., etc. Let's say you need 5 crores based upon your financial model, etc. Now, and you know that whatever money you currently have, let us say it runs out in June of 2021. Okay, let's assume that current money that you have will last 12 months. In June of 2021, you run out of cash, and therefore you need to raise a fresh round in June of 2021, right? But you also know that it takes you about 6 months to raise money. That means you have to start your fundraising process in January of 2021. Now, so in January of 2021, an investor who looks at your deck is going to say, in June of 2020, you were at this position, which is position X, with regard to product readiness, with regard to customer conversations, with regard to your management team, with regard to, let us say, some IP that you have filed, etc., etc. Now, from June of 2020 to December of 2020, what has been the progress? What have you achieved? And in January of 2021, you're in conversation with the VC. So he's going to look at the last 6 months and say, okay, so what have you done? What have you achieved? And how do I get the confidence that from January 2021 to June of 2021, whatever you are projecting, you are going to achieve it, right? How do I know that? What is your confidence, and how do you give me the confidence that you will deliver on that promise? Okay. And therefore, that is the thinking that you must have. And therefore, the amount of money that you plan to raise, okay, should be such that it covers you for the eventuality of a delayed fundraise, and it helps you achieve your goals, and it helps you have another at least 3 months of cash in the bank. Is that clear? Yeah.
What does a successful first meet between an entrepreneur and investor look like, sir? And what does a bad one look like? Like certain signs that they can pick up and say, okay.
First sign is, typically an investor will give you 30 minutes to present, and you find that the 30 minutes has become 2 hours. Okay. And you find that, you're speaking to the partner, not to the junior most person in the company. You're speaking to the partner, and the partner calls in another colleague of his to sit in and listen to the pitch. Okay, that's another good sign. The third sign you will have is that they very quickly they will move to say, ask you who else are you talking to, where you are in the fundraise process, how soon is the fundraise going to close, and things like that. So a good meeting will typically, there have been situations where people have had a meeting in the afternoon, and by late evening they walked out with a term sheet. Okay. A bad meeting is in 5 minutes the meeting is over. I'll give you an example. I happened to be sitting in on a meeting once many years ago in Silicon Valley with one of the veterans of the VC business. So a presentation began. There were 4 people who were presenting. So the VC asked, and the CEO was presenting. And after the CEO introduced the team and introduced the company, the VC stopped the presentation, looked at the other 3 people who were sitting silently, and asked them only one question. He asked them, why did you select him, that is the person presenting, as the CEO of your company? Okay, that was the question. And that was also the answer was not satisfactory. There were a lot of bumbling, fumbling, etc., etc., and that basically ended the meeting.
Got it. We have one question from, I think, Arvind from Artro Energy. He's asking about the ideal founding team size, and do investors have certain preferences regarding that?
Yeah, so there is no ideal team size. Okay, number one. And it is also, generally speaking, people like to see more than one person. Okay, that doesn't mean that they want to see 500 people in the founding team, but more than one person. But typically, if you have the right combination of a technology person and a business person, that's probably the best combo you can get as a founding team.
Sure. So you keep talking a lot about the culture that founders build in their startups, and so I'm just going off track, but how can entrepreneurs kind of set the right culture, and how is it possible to showcase such cultures to the investors?
Yeah, in my mind, that is the single most important thing that any company can ever create. Okay. And I have a saying that goes like, a feature is not a product is not a business is not a company, and a company is not an organization. Okay. And as you move from feature to product to company to business to organization, the thing that transforms this is actually all the qualitative aspects that essentially can be captured in that one word called culture, which means what are your value systems, how do you treat people, how do you treat your suppliers, how do you treat your customers, how do you treat your partners, what is your mode of operating within your company, that is your culture within the company. For example, is it a micromanaged command and control market environment, or is it a company where everybody is free to say what they want? Is it a situation where everybody only nods and listens to you, or is there a pushback, a culture of healthy debate, discussion, and argumentation? Okay, and therefore ideation happens. So, is your commitment to your word important? Do you say one thing, do another thing? What are your value systems, with regard to integrity, with regard to ethics, and so on? So these are all the important aspects. What is your, for example, do you shortchange customers? Do you shortchange vendors? Do you try and cheat people? Are you being fair? Are you being inclusive, right? These are all elements that determine culture. And in my mind, it's the single most important thing between building a lasting, sustainable, valuable company and between and a fly-by-night operation. You can make a lot of money, but you can never build a culture. For example, and culture is something that transcends time. It transcends space. If I say that, hey, this guy um, is from company X, and this guy is from company Y, and you can put your own company names there and see what is the impact it has on a potential hire, on a customer, on your partners, and so on. That is the value that they assign to you, and it also has implications on valuation, it has implications on your stock price, various things. Okay, and that's why it is so important. It generates goodwill, it generates enormous amount of value over the long term.
Yes. Do you have time for one more question, sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. So this was from a conversation I had with another young entrepreneur. So because you are also a mentor to a lot of startups, he also has a mentor, and he wants to offer equity to his mentor, and he doesn't know like how to take it forward or how much to give. Is there any guidance that you can provide on that?
Yeah. See, first principle.
Sir, you're not audible.
Varadha, I think we lost Sanjay sir again.
Actually, let's close, man. It's a bit late. I will get this answer from Sanjay and share it with you guys on the group.
Sure.
Uh,
Okay.
I think there was a question from Arvind, but I'm sorry I couldn't ask that. But I will ask that as well and share it with you guys. Shut up. Kicha, the stage is yours now. Thank you all guys for all participating. Kicha, do you want to have anything to add?
Yeah. We will make note of all the questions, and rest assured, all your questions will be answered, and you will be sent a personalized reply within the mobile application. We will definitely make sure we do that, and we will also take the questions which are relevant to the investor directly and like coordinate with them and get the answer. And if at all, if it's required or anything, please do write to us, and we will definitely connect you
Yes,
guys
sir.
on a one-on-one.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So yes, let's just hear back from Varadha. I think he's speaking to Sanjay sir. Apart from that, do you guys have any other questions? Apart from whatever we have right now with respect to this webinar session,
I'll put.
you have any other questions?
Sure, sir.
If yes, please do shoot it out. And we will be resuming back again at 3 o'clock after we hear from Varta. And we will conclude this session now. Yeah. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. We'll make sure we answer all your questions. Thanks a lot. And please do come back. Please do come back around 2:50, 2:55-ish for the next webinar session of the day 2. Thanks a lot. Thank you again. Manikandan, we hear you. One of the main reason why we didn't want to allow access to unmute everyone is because while the session happens, there might be n number of interferences and all that be very difficult for us to manage. But right now I can unmute and you guys can ask us if you have any questions. That's one of the main reason, Manikandan. We are very sorry for that. Thank you, Navisky Labs. Thank you, Visit Desk. Thanks, Ashok. Also, Sir's PDF about the startup mantras have been uploaded in the mobile application. Please do refer to the resources. We'll be posting about that within TNIGC announcements as well. Thank you, Ashok from Epope. Thanks, Abhijit from Aura.
Try to get some muted by host. Oh, I'm speaking.
Hey, Abhinash.
Hi.
Yeah, what do you think?
What?
Decent session, right?
Yeah, decent session.
Yeah.
Sure. 1 second, teacher.
Okay, sure. Then I will end this meeting. Hello.
Yeah.
I'll end this meeting and we will circle back and just coordinate with Varda alone. No, I'm going to get on an office call now. I'll be back in like 5-10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye. Hey, one second.
Varda,
Don't exit. I need to download this.
Hey, a lot of people are having trouble with downloading that PDF. I think it's probably Google Drive access restriction.
Varta, can you make it publicly either?
Yeah, it is already link shared. When Sanjay shared a 30 MB file,
correct. Link share is fine. Just make it available to anyone and everyone.
It is. Are you not able to access it?
Yeah. You check the app. No, Arul has commented 3 hours back stating that.
Then I again went and checked it. But if you want, we can put it on TNIGC one attachment and even link it from the website tab.
Okay, I'm okay with anything. Suhas, I able to open now. Okay.
Hmm.
Because,
Yeah.
hey, from the IGC app, people are not able to open. I don't know for what reason.
Yeah, seriously, I don't know why that's happening. I tried the same link on laptop and all, it's working fine.
From the app, it's not open. For me, it's working, but I don't know.
Okay. Cool.
Okay,
Hey,
guys.
this was a good session, right?
Yeah, good session. Let's just take all the questions alone, right? So yeah.
I think he answered. I think we've got him answered all the questions. Some of them are pretty basic, so I didn't. Maybe one or two. Some of them are like I couldn't understand, so I
Yeah,
dropped it.
but just take a screenshot of all the questions for just our reference and
Sure,
keep it.
Dan.
No.
Let
Yeah,
me
I have
just,
taken whatever questions that I have had.
I don't have that
I'll be
option
posting
now.
it on the group now.
No. Sorry, Varda, or quick idra, don't mistake me.
Sure.
I was just noting you on the call. நீ கிருஷ்ணா வந்து கிருஷ்ணான்னு அட்ரஸ் பண்றா கால்ல.
Address பண்ணனும்னா
நீ வந்து கிச்சா யா மேன் ஓவர் டு யூ அப்படி பேசிட்ட.
Oh, once, but other times I think I mentioned Krishna. I think that one time slip bites in.
In the beginning it was all fine, but towards the end it's like yada, no man, kicha over to you da அப்படின்றது. So
It's okay. It's okay. We will get better.
Okay, I'm just nitpicking, but
Yeah.
People should know we are friends, but it's just that like one
correct.
small.
கொஞ்சம் ஃப்ளோல வந்துருச்சு மச்சி சாரிடா.
But yeah, a good session today. But another thing, quickly before I leave, I'll tell you. Another thing that I actually didn't like or didn't appreciate was after Sanjay joined the call, he was asking general information about TNIGC, about the program and everything, which is okay to some extent. But him questioning about GAM itself was little not acceptable. But his other questions related to TNIGC and EDIA are fine.
It's okay. He is more of a frank person, so
Understand?
Sure.
Yeah. No, it looks like அவர் என்னன்னே தெரியாம ஒத்தண்டு வந்த மாதிரி இருந்தது. Yeah. I was saying அவர் என்னன்னே தெரியாம ஒத்தண்டு வந்துட்டு இங்க क्वेश्चन கேட்ட மாதிரி இருந்ததுன்னு.
ஆமா, in the beginning only no.
Yeah.
அது என்ன அப்படினு கேட்டாரு, கரெக்ட் தான்.
ஆமா.
His questions were also a lot more on what kind of the audience was, and he knew it was a grant. That is also there.
Fine da. Yeah. அந்த क्वेश्चनலாம் ஃபைன். பட் ஆனா இந்த ப்ரோகிராம் பத்தி அவர் கேள்வி கேட்டது தான் வந்து ஐயோ என்னடா இவருக்கு அவர் மறந்துட்டாரா இல்ல வந்துட்டு எதுக்கு இப்படி நம்மள பார்ட்டிசிபென்ட்ஸ் முன்னாடி அசிங்கப்படுத்துறாரு.
No, that's fine. He delivered, which is more than happy.
Of course. Yeah. See, அதெல்லாம் ப்ராப்ளமே இல்ல. பட் இது வந்துட்டு ஒரு மாதிரி இருந்ததுன்னு நான் சொல்றேன்.
Okay, fine, sure.
Okay.
Abhi, do you have a call on that? You have a take on that?
What da?
On him asking a lot of basic questions.
Who?
Sanjay asking us a lot of questions on in terms of the program.
I think my only thing is that means we are our speaker communication has to be a little more strong.
Okay, fine.
See, what we'll do is we'll just develop a template and couple of things about EDI. Okay, Macha, when you try to explain EDI to people, you can never successfully explain it, dude. Trust me. So I've been doing this for the last 2 years, right? Like,
okay, guys, I will quit the call. Sorry.
Yeah, sure, man.
Varda, you'll stay, 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm here.
So when you want to introduce like who is this organization running it, you can openly announce it as the Tamil Nadu State Policy Startup Policy Wing.
Okay.
We work under the MSME department, and we are the state's nodal agency for Tamil Nadu implementing Tamil Nadu Startup Policy. When you speak about entrepreneurship development, innovation and institutes, அது பேர் வச்சதே தப்பா வச்சிருக்காங்க first.
I think I also fumbled EDI name, I think.
Macha, nobody gets it right, dude. I'm telling you, name stuff like this. See, the other thing is Karnataka's equivalent to TNIGC is called Elevate, okay?
Okay, fine.
Nobody will go and ask you what Elevate means or what Elevate stands for.
Yeah.
So he had it out like, what is TNIGC pa? Who will name something Tamil Nadu Innovation Grand Challenge in அவன் பேர் வைப்பான். சரியா? So what I'm trying to say is எங்களை இந்த ஆர்கனைசேஷனை சிம்பிளா அப்படி சொல்லிட்டு பாலிசி விங்கு பாருங்க அப்படின்னு சொல்லி விங் பண்ணிடு. Because I believe he also thought we were an incubator in between.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, no, sir, we're not an incubator. Appo I didn't want to jump in and give like too much
Sure.
explanation because I saw a lot of participants there.
Okay.
So அப்ப போயிட்டு நாம யாருன்னு எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணா, டேய் யாரா இவர், யாருன்னே சொல்லாம கூட்டிட்டு வந்துட்டீங்களா நீங்க?
அதுக்கப்புறம் தான் நம்ம பில்டப் பண்ணிட்டோமே.
நீ விட்ட பாரு ஒரு பில்டப். அவர்லாம் வந்து நம்ம லைஃப்க்கு மறக்க. நீ அவர் மகாத்மா காந்தின்னு கூப்பிட்டா.
I didn't call him Mahatma da. I was talking about stories and stuff like that.
அச்சா, அவரை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் நீ வந்து அவரோட ஸ்டார்ட் அப் மகாத்மா அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு வந்து அப்படியே அவளை மறக்கவே மாட்டேன்.
அவர்தான் ஜெனரஸ். I was comparing Mahatma to Fanindra Sama trainer. It was very I wanted to talk about Red Bus and stuff like that. Okay, நேத்து நைட் ஏதோ ஓடிச்சு மைண்ட்ல. சரி ஒரு பில்டப் ஹைப் தான் பண்ணுவாமே. இதுதான் மச்சி ஹைப் மேன்.
அதெல்லாம் செம்மையா கொடுத்தா. I think he really enjoyed that. But what I also liked about this gentleman is that you know, with lot of experience, you'd break things down to simpler points, right?
Yeah da.
சும்மா என்னமா அது இது டெட் லிங்க், ஈக்விட்டி லிங்க், இந்த டைல்யூஷன் அதெல்லாம் பேசாம, சே 10 கம்பெனி இருக்கு, 10 கம்பெனிலாம் நான் ₹1 போடுறேன் அப்படின்னு பேசுறதுக்கு வந்து you need like, you know, you should be a seasoned person to break things down to that level. What I personally
and the articulating your vision was like, ability to articulate was amazing.
Amazing, exactly. So I really like that part. It's just that we could have had like better, like, you know, seamless internet on the side la irundha vandha nalla irundirukum. Adu நம்ம கையில இல்ல.
Atul ipada message anna. The session was very good, enjoyed it thoroughly.
ஆனா எதுவும் அவர் சொல்றதெல்லாம் கேட்க கூடாது.
என்னது?
இல்ல அத்துல் இவர் சொல்றது எதையும் கேட்க மாட்டான். ஆனா என்கிட்ட மாட்டினா நான் ஒரு நாள் சம்மடி அடிக்க போறேன். வயிற்று மாதிரி நம்ம சொல்றதெல்லாம் உட்காந்து கேட்டு அவன் பாட்டுன்னு போயிட்டு இஷ்டத்துக்கு ஏதாவது பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கான்.
சரிடா. Hey, we have session at 4 now, 4 o'clock.
Yep.
Hey, did Krishna mention that? I think I have to like start saying Krishna to rehabilitate my calling, I think. I don't know why. Hey, it's at 3 o'clock. Kicha mentioned that, right? It's at 3 o'clock.
Yeah. But it's, yeah.
Okay, fine, man. Cool.
It's changed in the schedule,
No. It's 3 o'clock only.
மச்சா people ஓரளவுக்கு ஆப் யூஸ் பண்ண ஆரம்பிச்சிட்டாங்கடா.
ஃபீட்பேக்லாம் கொடுக்குறாங்களா என்ன? ஸ்பீக்கர் ஆன் ஸ்பீக்கர்
ஃபீட்பேக் கொடுக்குறாங்களா? நீ போடணும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். நம்ம போட்டோம்னாலாம் டேய் ஸ்பீக்கருக்கு ஃபீட்பேக் கொடுங்க, இது கொடுங்க, அது கொடுங்க கேட்டே இருக்கணும்.
I think என்னடா இது அம்கனா what's it? Click on join the webinar or resources info. Just looking at
why am I a speaker? What the fuck?
He must have put you as host now and gone.
No dude, on the app I am also a speaker.
Oh, okay, fine. Co-host பண்ணிருப்பானோ?
இல்ல மச்சான், அந்த இன்ட்ரோடக்ஷன் நான் கொடுத்ததனால என் பேரை போட்டீங்கல்ல, அது இங்க வந்துருச்சு ஆப்ல.
Oh, okay, fine. சரி. So June 2nd, 7:30 to 8 p.m.
சத்வாவா?
Whoda?
Satwa investor.
Yeah, he's there. I was surprised he was there in Satwa. What?
ஆல்செக்ல எல்லாம் இருந்திருக்காரு இவரு. சென்னை பேஸ்ட் கால் சென்டர் கம்பெனி, செம்ம பெரிய கோடி கட்டி போறாங்க. கலர்
வாணி கோலாவோட தானே அது?
இது ஆல்செக்.
No, okay, fine.
மச்சான் சென்னை வேளச்சேரியில இருக்க கம்பெனி மச்சான்.
Okay, ஆல்செக்.
அப்ப ஐடியா ஸ்ப்ரிங் இந்தியாவா?
இந்தியாவா மென்டரா இருப்பார் அவர். He'll be like venture partner in all of these. Our நல்ல deal flow நால all of these guys will be looking at his portfolio. Irumachal, let's just feedbackல ஏதாவது போட்டா நல்லா இருக்கும். Just hold on. Cheda, hey, I'll get back to work. I have a bunch of stuff to get done. சரியா?
Bye bye.
Arun என்ன போட்டு வருத்த போறாரு because there's one work that's pending from last week or something.
சரி முடி. Bye.
Bye.